Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're ready because tonight I want to talk about something powerful, someone powerful, a force we often overlook but can't afford to ignore. I want to talk about the woman who fights alone. She's out there right now, waking up before the sun, carrying the weight of her world on her shoulders. Nobody sees the battle she's fighting, but they feel the results of her victories. She doesn't ask for recognition, she doesn't wait for applause, and she doesn't seek permission to stand tall. She just does what she has to do. I want you to pause for a moment and think about the kind of strength it takes to fight battles no one sees. Not the kind of fights that end up on the evening news or the ones with crowds gathered around to cheer. No, I'm talking about the battles that are fought in silence, behind closed doors, when the world isn't watching. That's the story of the woman who fights alone. She doesn't announce her struggles to the world. She doesn't have time for that. While others are busy complaining about what they don't have, she's out there making it work with what little she does. She's the one who wakes up before the sun, not because she wants to, but because she has to. There's a fire in her that refuses to let her stop. Whether it's putting food on the table, raising a family, or chasing dreams that everyone else told her were impossible, she shows up. You see, the woman who fights alone doesn't wait for someone to hand her the tools she needs to build her life. She goes out and finds them. And when she can't find them, she makes them herself. She's resourceful. She's resourceful. She's relentless. She doesn't ask for permission to be strong, and she doesn't wait for approval to move forward. Her strength isn't loud or boastful. It's quiet, deliberate, and steady. But let me be clear, this kind of strength doesn't come easy. It comes from being knocked down more times than she can count. It comes from sleepless nights spent wondering if she can keep going. It comes from tears cried in solitude because she doesn't want anyone to see her pain. Yet somehow every morning she rises. Every time she falls, she gets back up. Not because it's easy, but because she has no other choice. And while the world might overlook her, dismiss her, or underestimate her, she doesn't let that stop her. No, she keeps moving. She keeps building. She keeps fighting. She knows that the only person she can truly rely on is herself. And let me tell you something, there's a kind of power in that. There's a kind of power in knowing that no matter what happens, no matter how bad things get, she has the strength to carry herself through. Her fight is about more than just survival, it's about purpose. She's not just pushing through for today, she's building for tomorrow. She's creating something greater than herself. Whether it's a better life for her family, a chance to chase her dreams, or simply proving to herself that she can, her fight has meaning. And that meaning fuels her every step, every decision, every sacrifice. She's not waiting for someone to come save her because she understands that her strength, her fight, her victories, they belong to her. She's not just surviving, she's thriving one battle at a time. And that's what makes her unstoppable. The woman who fights alone is often fighting battles that nobody sees, and that's what makes her story so unique and powerful. These aren't the kinds of battles you read about in newspapers or see on social media. No, these are the silent struggles, the ones that happen in the quiet hours of the night when the world is asleep, when the weight of the world seems to sit heavier on her shoulders than ever before. She faces battles that go unnoticed, struggles that others might not even understand. She fights not just for survival, but for dignity, for respect, for the right to take up space in a world that often feels indifferent to her pain. These are battles that don't come with a cheerleading squad or a spotlight to shine on her efforts. No one sees her late nights, her early mornings, her sacrifices, or the quiet tears she wipes away when no one is watching. But every single one of these struggles builds her character, sharpens her resolve, and deepens her purpose. While others may be quick to judge or criticize, they don't understand the pressure she's under, the expectations, the burdens, the constant feeling that she has to prove herself, that she's never allowed to show weakness. Every day is a new challenge, a new fight she has to wage, often on multiple fronts. One minute, she's fighting to make ends meet. The next, she's fighting for the mental space to breathe, to think, to dream. And all the while, there's no applause, no recognition for the things she's pushing through. This battle isn't just about surviving the day-to-day. It's the mental and emotional toll that goes unseen, the weight of carrying responsibilities that no one else understands. It's the stress of knowing that every decision, every choice she makes, affects not just herself, but everyone around her. The emotional labor of holding it all together when everything around her is falling apart, and the internal battle to stay strong when it feels like giving up might be the easiest option. Her struggles are not just with external circumstances, they're often with internal fears, doubts, and insecurities that threaten to hold her back. She wrestles with feelings of inadequacy, of being overlooked, of wondering whether her efforts are enough. But in the quiet moments when the doubts creep in, she digs deep. She finds strength that she never knew she had. It's not easy and it's not glamorous, but it's real. She knows that if she doesn't keep going, no one else will pick up the slack. No one else will fight for her dreams, her goals, or her family. So she continues to fight day after day. And even though these battles are unseen, they matter. They shape her, they mold her into someone who is tougher, more determined, and more resilient than anyone could ever imagine. What others see as a strong woman is built from 1,000 unseen battles. What they don't know is that the strength they admire didn't come from winning easy fights. It came from the relentless, unrecognized struggle she faced in silence, with nothing but her own resolve to carry her through. The woman who fights alone carries a commitment that never wavers, even when the odds are stacked against her. She wakes up each day with a purpose, knowing that there's no time to dwell on excuses or setbacks. While others might hesitate or falter, she moves forward because she understands that her life, and often the lives of those who depend on her, demands it. Her commitment isn't conditional. It's not based on whether the circumstances are ideal or whether she feels ready. It's rooted in the knowledge that action is necessary, no matter how she feels. This unyielding commitment shows in the way she prioritizes what matters most. She sacrifices sleep to finish the things that need to be done. She skips moments of rest or leisure to make sure others have what they need. She doesn't complain about the load she carries because she knows that the work is hers to do. There's no room for hesitation, and certainly no room for quitting. For her, commitment is about showing up, not when it's convenient, but when it's hard, when it's messy, and when it feels like the last thing she wants to do. It's not just about the big, life-altering decisions. It's in the little, everyday choices that she refuses to compromise on. It's in the extra hours she puts in at work to make sure the bills are paid. It's in the way she shows up for her children, even when she's physically and emotionally drained. It's in the dreams she holds on to despite the challenges, carving out time to pursue them when the world would understand if she let them go. Her commitment is a quiet, steady force that drives her forward, even when everything in her wants to stop. Her determination doesn't mean she doesn't get tired. It doesn't mean she doesn't feel the weight of what she's doing. But what sets her apart is that she refuses to let the weight break her. She knows that commitment isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. It's about showing up for the life she's trying to build, no matter how hard it gets or how long it takes. She sees the bigger picture, the dream she's working toward, the family she's providing for, the legacy she's building. That vision keeps her going when most people would have given up. Even when no one is watching, she keeps her word. Even when it feels like no progress is being made, she keeps moving. This is not a commitment to others alone. It's a commitment to herself, to the belief that she is capable of overcoming whatever obstacles stand in her way. It's a promise to never settle, to never stop striving, and to never accept less than the best she can give. That's what makes her unstoppable, even when the odds are against her. The woman who fights alone isn't simply focused on getting through the day, she's focused on growing through it. She refuses to just survive. Survival might be the starting point for many, but for her, it's never enough. She knows that life is about more than just enduring the struggle or putting up with hardship. It's about using those challenges to push herself to new heights, to create something better than what she had yesterday. She understands that every difficulty is an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to become stronger. While many are caught up in the fight to stay afloat, she's using every moment to build something more meaningful. Her growth comes not from avoiding the hardships, but from embracing them and refusing to let them define her. She doesn't shy away from the challenges that come her way because she knows they are the very things that will sharpen her, shape her, and mold her into the person she's meant to become. Thriving is a mindset for her. It's the way she approaches every task, every goal, every setback. It's the belief that she has the power to turn every adversity into an advantage. While others may see a setback as failure, she sees it as a lesson, a stepping stone on her path to greater success. The woman who fights alone doesn't let circumstances dictate her destiny. She takes control of her narrative and refuses to let the weight of the world hold her down. Her thriving isn't about material success alone, it's about the richness of her spirit. It's the way she builds strength from adversity, resilience from loss, and wisdom from struggle. It's the way she lifts herself up and in turn lifts others around her. The fact that she fights alone doesn't mean she's isolated. It means she's strong enough to not let her circumstances dictate her happiness, her peace, or her sense of fulfillment. She understands that thriving isn't a destination, it's a journey that involves facing fears, overcoming self-doubt, and continuously growing. It's about taking risks, stepping out of comfort zones, and choosing to rise, even when the world would understand if she stayed down. She understands that her potential is not limited by the hand she was dealt, but by how much she is willing to stretch, learn, and evolve. And perhaps most importantly, she thrives because she believes in herself. She believes that her life has meaning and that every effort she makes, every step she takes is leading her towards something greater. She doesn't wait for permission to thrive. She does it on her own terms, carving her own path and living her life in a way that others will look at and say, if she can do it, so can I. Thriving for her is a refusal to settle. It's a refusal to let life's obstacles dictate how high she can soar. And so she rises, not just to survive, but to live fully, to reach her fullest potential, and to inspire others to do the same. She is proof that the power to thrive is within us all, no matter the circumstances. Strength and resilience are not just traits the woman who fights alone is born with, they are qualities she forges with each battle she faces. Strength for her isn't about physical power or the ability to overcome a single obstacle. It's about the quiet endurance that carries her through the long, hard days when nothing seems to be going her way. It's the unwavering belief that even when life knocks her down, she has the ability to get back up and keep moving forward. Strength is the backbone of everything she does. It's the quiet force that propels her when everything inside her tells her to quit. But strength alone isn't enough. Resilience is what turns that strength into something unbreakable. Resilience is the ability to bend but never break. It's the ability to face hardship, heartbreak, loss, and setbacks without losing sight of what matters most. Every time she's faced with a challenge, her resilience grows. It's not that she doesn't feel fear or doubt, she does. It's not that she doesn't get tired or overwhelmed, she does. But resilience is what keeps her from being consumed by those feelings. It's the fire that burns within her, urging her to rise every time life pushes her down. Her strength and resilience are built over time, piece by piece, decision by decision. Each time she overcomes an obstacle, no matter how small, she becomes a little more unshakable. And each time she faces an even bigger challenge, she is reminded that she is capable of handling whatever comes her way. There's a quiet confidence in her resilience, a deep knowing that she has been through tough times before and come out the other side. That experience gives her the courage to face the next challenge head on without fear of failure. She's been through too much to let anything scare her now. The woman who fights alone doesn't wait for strength to come to her. She finds it in the midst of adversity. She understands that strength is not the absence of struggle, but the ability to press on in the face of it. Resilience isn't about bouncing back immediately. It's about enduring the storm, staying grounded, and continuing to move forward even when the road is unclear. Each time she gets knocked down, she finds a way to rise, even if it's just one small step at a time. What others may see as weakness, her vulnerability, her tears, her exhaustion are actually signs of her strength. They are proof that she's still fighting, still holding on, still moving forward. Her resilience lies not in the absence of pain, but in her refusal to be defeated by it. She knows that pain is temporary, but the lessons learned from it will last a lifetime. Every battle she faces teaches her something new about herself, about what she's capable of, and about the power that lies within her. And so she endures. She doesn't just survive the storm, she learns to dance in the rain. She doesn't wait for her circumstances to change before she thrives. She adapts, she adjusts, she rises stronger, wiser, and more determined with each challenge. Her strength and resilience are what set her apart. They are the foundation on which she builds her life, and they are the forces that will carry her through every trial she faces. Because at the end of the day, it's not the obstacles that define her. It's the way she rises from them that shows the world who she truly is. The woman who fights alone is driven by a purpose that extends far beyond her own needs and desires. She is fighting for something bigger than herself, something that gives her the strength to keep moving forward, even when the road is tough and the nights are long. It's not just about surviving, not just about building a better life for herself, although that is part of it. It's about leaving a legacy, breaking cycles, and creating opportunities for those who will come after her. Every step she takes is a step towards something greater than her own individual success. Her fight is for her children, for her family, for her community. It's for the ones who can't fight for themselves, for those who rely on her strength to get them through. When she wakes up every morning, it's not just for her own dreams and aspirations, but for the dreams of those who believe in her, who trust her, and who look up to her as a symbol of hope. She understands that her actions today will create a foundation for their tomorrow. And that understanding fuels her determination to keep going, even when she feels like giving up. She is also fighting for the unseen, the unspoken, the women who have come before her, who fought in their own quiet ways, who laid the groundwork so that she could stand tall today. She's fighting for the women who have been silenced, the ones whose voices were ignored, the ones whose potential was stifled by circumstances beyond their control. She knows that her strength doesn't just belong to her, it's the culmination of generations of women who fought in their own battles, just like she's fighting now. Her success will honor them and pave the way for those who follow. But she's also fighting for the world to see that women like her are capable of more than society often gives them credit for. She's breaking barriers, challenging perceptions, and proving every single day that women can be strong, resilient, and powerful in their own terms. She is not defined by her struggles, nor is she defined by the limitations others try to place on her. She defines herself by what she chooses to fight for. And the truth is, she's fighting to show the world that women are forces to be reckoned with, no matter the obstacles. This fight is not just for the here and now, it's for the future. It's for the girls who are watching her, learning from her, and dreaming of a life where they don't have to fight as hard as she did. She is laying the groundwork for a better world for them, where they can walk further, run faster, and dream bigger than she ever could. Her struggle is not just for her own advancement, but for the advancement of all the women who are still fighting, still struggling, still trying to break free from the constraints that hold them back. When she fights, she does so with the awareness that her victory is not just hers alone. It belongs to everyone who has ever needed a voice, a champion, a guide. She fights not just to achieve her goals, but to create a path for others to follow, to ensure that when the next generation steps forward, they will have the tools and the inspiration to keep pushing even higher. And every step she takes is a testimony to the fact that what she does today is for the betterment of tomorrow. This is the power behind her fight. It's not just for herself, it's for every single person who believes in her, who needs her, who looks to her for hope, for strength, and for proof that anything is possible when you fight for more than just your own survival. The woman who fights alone is often underestimated, not because she lacks power, but because her strength doesn't always look the way people expect. People might see her quiet determination, her ability to stay composed in the face of adversity, and mistake it for weakness. They may look at her from the outside, see the battle she's fighting, and assume that because she doesn't cry out for attention or ask for help, she's not as strong as those who demand recognition. But what they fail to see is the quiet, unshakable force that lives within her. Her power is not loud. It's not dramatic. It doesn't announce itself with grand gestures or bold declarations. It's a quiet storm, building and gathering momentum behind the scenes. She doesn't need validation from the outside world to know her worth. She knows that her power comes from within. It's in her ability to keep moving forward, even when no one is cheering her on, to keep fighting, even when she's the only one in her corner. This is a strength that's cultivated in solitude, honed by the countless times she has been told you can't, or you're not enough yet still pushes through. The world may underestimate her, but that's part of the beauty of it. They don't see the hours of work she puts in when no one's watching. They don't see the late nights, the early mornings, the sacrifices made in silence, the moments when she doubts herself but refuses to give up. Her power is in her persistence, her resilience, and her ability to keep going when the world expects her to quit. And that's what makes her dangerous, because she's unpredictable. She's underestimated until she shows up. And when she does, she delivers in a way that leaves people in awe. People often don't understand the depths of her strength because they look at the surface. They see a woman who's juggling responsibilities, taking care of others, holding it all together, and they think she's managing. But what they don't see is the depth of her determination. They don't see the fire that fuels her when things get tough, or the quiet defiance in her spirit that refuses to accept defeat. They don't see how she fights not just for survival, but for excellence, for something greater than the life she's been handed. She doesn't need others to recognize her worth because she recognizes it herself. She doesn't need a pat on the back or applause because her power comes from the fact that she knows she's capable. She knows that she can weather any storm, face any challenge, and rise every single time life tries to knock her down. She knows that the power that keeps her going is not in how others view her, but in how she views herself. And when she steps up, when she shows up in the face of all the doubts and challenges, that's when people begin to realize the depth of her strength. It's in the moments when she stands tall, despite the odds, when she fights with everything she has, despite the world telling her to quit, that her true power reveals itself. And by then, it's too late for anyone to underestimate her. Her power is quiet, but it is unstoppable. It is the power of someone who has been counted out, overlooked, and still managed to rise. It's the power of someone who knows that the real strength lies not in the battles won on the outside, but in the ones fought and won on the inside. And that kind of power, underestimated for so long, cannot be denied. The woman who fights alone knows that her strength is not her own. She draws from a deeper well of faith, a belief in something greater than herself that gives her the courage to face the impossible and the wisdom to keep going when the world seems uncertain. Faith is the anchor that keeps her grounded, the compass that guides her when the path ahead is unclear. It's not just faith in a higher power, it's faith in her own abilities, in her purpose, and in the belief that no matter how difficult the journey, she is never truly alone. Faith is the quiet whisper that urges her to keep moving forward when fear tries to take root. When the weight of the world feels too heavy, when the challenges seem insurmountable, it's faith that whispers, "You've got this," and pushes her to keep going. It's not a blind faith that ignores the reality of the hardships she faces, but a faith that recognizes those hardships as temporary, as stepping stones that will ultimately lead to something greater. Faith teaches her that setbacks are not failures, they are lessons that will shape her for the next part of the journey. This faith also provides her with the guidance she needs to navigate the complex and often confusing paths she walks. When there's no clear map, no one to show her the way, her faith becomes the light that shines through the darkness. It is her internal compass, her moral guide, her constant reminder of what she's fighting for and why it matters. In times of doubt, when others may question her choices, she trusts in the guidance she receives, whether from her own intuition, a moment of clarity, or from a deeper sense of purpose. She knows that this guidance is her greatest asset, far more valuable than any external advice or approval. Faith and guidance together create a powerful force within her. They remind her that she doesn't have to have all the answers. She doesn't need to know exactly how everything will work out. She just needs to take the next step with confidence, knowing that the path will reveal itself as she continues forward. There's a sense of peace that comes with this trust, of peace that allows her to keep her head high, even in the midst of chaos, because she knows she's not walking this path alone. The challenges she faces are part of a greater plan, and she has the faith to believe that every struggle will ultimately bring her closer to her purpose. Her faith doesn't make the challenges go away, but it gives her the strength to face them head on. It reminds her that her fight is not just physical or material, it's spiritual. It's a fight for her soul, for her peace, and for the future she's building. Her faith is what fuels her resilience, what keeps her heart open, even when the world tries to close it. It allows her to see opportunities where others see only obstacles, and to believe in her ability to create a different reality, no matter what her circumstances may be. In the quiet moments, when no one is around to see, her faith is her source of solace. It's what helps her find clarity in the storm, peace in the chaos, and hope in the darkest times. She leans into this faith, letting it guide her through every challenge, every triumph, and every moment in between. It's her unshakable belief that no matter how hard the fight gets, she is guided by a force far greater than herself, and that will always carry her through. The woman who fights alone is not just focused on what she can achieve today. Her vision extends far beyond the present moment. She is building something that will endure, something that will live on long after she's gone. Every decision she makes, every challenge she faces, every sacrifice she endures is part of the legacy she is creating. This is not just a fight for survival or personal success. This is a fight to shape the future, to leave behind a mark that will inspire generations to come. She understands that the legacy she creates won't just be about material wealth or accolades. It's about the impact she leaves on the lives of others, the lessons she imparts, the example she sets. She is laying the foundation for something bigger than herself, whether it's in the lives of her children, her community, or the people who have been touched by her journey. She fights not only to provide for those she loves, but to show them what's possible when you refuse to give up, when you stand firm in the face of adversity, and when you commit to doing whatever it takes to live a life of purpose. Her legacy is built on the principles of strength, resilience, and determination. It's in the way she handles the challenges life throws at her without bitterness, without complaining, but with grace and resolve. It's in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when she continues to push forward, knowing that the work she's doing today is for a future that will outlast her. She knows that her actions speak louder than words. What she does today will shape the world for those who come after her, whether or not they ever know her name. But it's not just the tangible things she leaves behind. Her legacy is in the way she inspires others to believe in their own potential. By walking her own path with courage, she shows others that they too can overcome whatever obstacles they face. Her journey is a testament to the power of persistence, of believing in something greater than oneself, and of never settling for anything less than what you are capable of. She is showing the world one step at a time that the true measure of success is not how much you accumulate, but how much you give, how much you uplift, and how much you inspire others to rise alongside you. She's also building a legacy of love that is shown through action, through commitment, and through the willingness to fight for what matters. The relationships she nurtures, the lives she touches, are all part of the enduring legacy she is creating. She is building a world where love and sacrifice are valued, where strength is found in vulnerability, and where resilience is passed down as a gift to the next generation. And in her quiet moments of reflection, when she thinks about the future she is shaping, she knows that the true power of her legacy won't be measured by what others say about her, but by the lives she's touched, the hearts she's inspired, and the ripples of change she's created. She is sowing seeds that will grow long after she's gone, planting the ideas, the values, and the hopes that will continue to bear fruit for years to come. The woman who fights alone is not just building a life for herself, she is building a future for those who follow. And that, in the end, is the truest form of legacy. The woman who fights alone embodies empowerment in its purest form. Empowerment isn't just a concept to her, it's the very air she breathes, the foundation on which she stands. She understands that true power doesn't come from external validation, wealth, or status, it comes from within. It's the quiet strength of knowing her worth, the unshakable belief that she is capable of achieving whatever she sets her mind to, regardless of the obstacles in her way. Empowerment is the inner fire that keeps her going, even when the world tells her she's not enough, that she can't or shouldn't. She knows that only she can define her path, and she chooses to walk it with confidence, grace, and determination. For the woman who fights alone, empowerment is about making the conscious decision to rise above the circumstances. She is empowered not by the ease of her journey, but by the resilience she builds as she continues to push forward in the face of adversity. Empowerment means knowing that every setback, every failure is simply a lesson, not a final judgment. She doesn't see challenges as barriers, she sees them as opportunities to grow, to learn, to refine her strength. When others would quit, she uses her empowerment to fuel her, to transform every hardship into fuel for her progress. Empowerment also means she has the courage to take control of her life. She doesn't wait for permission, nor does she wait for things to be handed to her. She understands that the only way to create the life she wants is to step into her own power and claim it. There's a level of self-sufficiency in her. She doesn't rely on others to make things happen. She relies on herself and the inner strength she's built through years of fighting for her dreams, her goals, and her vision. When the world tells her to settle, she chooses to push harder, to go further, because she knows the power of self-determination. This empowerment leads to a level of unstoppable energy. The woman who fights alone is a force that can't be contained. Her determination, once ignited, fuels her for the long haul. She doesn't give up. She doesn't back down. She keeps going because she's not driven by external factors. She's driven by a deep, unyielding belief in her own potential. Even when the world tells her no, when doors close, when people doubt her, she keeps moving. It's not because she doesn't face fear or doubt, but because she refuses to let those feelings define her or dictate her path. She understands that fear is simply a sign of something worth pursuing, and she uses that fear to propel herself forward. Unstoppability isn't about never stumbling or facing setbacks. It's about the refusal to be permanently derailed. The woman who fights alone doesn't let failure or criticism stop her progress. She learns from her mistakes, adapts, and moves on. She doesn't waste time dwelling on the things she cannot change. She focuses all her energy on what she can control: her actions, her mindset, and her willpower. She knows that setbacks are temporary, but the resolve to keep pushing forward is what defines her strength. Her path might not always be easy, and it might not always be straight, but she moves forward anyway with relentless purpose. Her empowerment makes her unstoppable because it's fueled by an unbreakable belief in herself. It's not arrogance or pride, it's a deep-rooted conviction that her purpose in this world is too powerful, too important to be ignored. She has a vision of who she is becoming, and no amount of struggle or doubt will deter her from that vision. When others see the hurdles, the obstacles, or the challenges ahead, she sees them as part of the journey. She knows they are just stepping stones, pushing her closer to the woman she is destined to become. She is unstoppable not because she never faces hardships, but because she refuses to let those hardships dictate the outcome of her life. She's unstoppable because no matter what life throws her way, she chooses to rise above it. She is empowered by her own resilience, driven by a deep sense of purpose, and unstoppable in her pursuit of the life she is building. She is a force of nature, a woman who, despite everything, will always rise. In the end, the woman who fights alone is not just a survivor. She is a force of nature, a living testament to the power of belief, resilience, and unwavering determination. She is empowered by her past, her struggles, and her unshakable faith in herself. With every challenge she faces, she becomes stronger, more unyielding, and unstoppable. Her journey is not just about her own victory. It's about showing the world what's possible when you refuse to give up, when you fight for more than just yourself. She builds a legacy with every step, creating a future where others can find hope, strength, and inspiration. In her fight, she reveals the true power of a woman who knows her worth and will stop at nothing to live a life of purpose, impact, and undeniable strength.